And a good Wednesday afternoon, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dave Turley here with an update on what's going on with Hurricane Michael and the impacts we are expecting across our areas. We thank you for watching now and joining us on the news, the Weather Now update here at this 2 o'clock hour. If you have questions or concerns, what's going to be happening out there, please go ahead to our WTOC Facebook page. I'll be checking that up and seeing what's going on with that, with all the questions and comments, and trying to answer as many as I can. And if not, I can go back afterwards and try and see if I can get more of those as well. But we hope to give you as much information so you are informed of what we are expecting. Now, Michael is making landfall, already made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, moving pretty quickly now. It's already moving to the east now of Panama City, and there's that outer circulation around the eye wall of that, continue to now almost make its way all inland, and will continue to bring the heaviest winds associated with that eye wall around the Panama City area and heading up towards I-10. The Mariana area is going to see some very gusty winds up here very shortly. Now the rain, which we can see, it's continued to overspread the region. These are current wind gusts across the area here. Apalachicola, a southerly wind at 84 miles per hour. Panama City, a northerly wind at 66 miles per hour. You see that Bonifay 44, even Dothan, Alabama right now sitting at a 43 mile per hour wind gust. And you can kind of make out that circulation around Hurricane Michael, which is moving into southern areas of Florida right now. A larger view shows we're pretty quiet across the region now, but notice, I want you to notice these little bands already starting to develop. They're already developing here through Florida and even here across some of our southern areas. That's still the circulation, that broader circulation associated with Michael, and these will start to fill in as we go throughout the afternoon and evening hours. And embedded in those outer rain bands, we certainly can see an isolated tornado or two, and that'll be a concern up here coming up later on this evening. As a matter of fact, the entire viewing area is now under that enhanced risk for seeing tornadoes. So make sure you have a way to receive weather alerts and hear the weather alerts. And I say they hear because even if you're getting those alerts, it doesn't do you any good if it comes in overnight and you're sleeping and you can't hear it. So make sure you have your alerts turned on with the audible alerts turned on so you can actually hear that and make sure it's as loud as possible as we head to the overnight, because this potential for tornadoes will continue overnight through early tomorrow morning, it looks like. Now, we don't have any warnings or tornado watches for our area locally, but they are in effect down towards Valdosta into the Albany area. We do have a flash flood watch in effect for Toombs, Montgomery, Emmanuel County westward across central Georgia, where they do anticipate a little bit heavier rain closer to the center of the circulation of Michael. We do have the coastal flood advisory that goes through the high tides. We'll continue with those coastal flood advisories for the evening high tide and continuing into probably tomorrow morning's high tide as well. Then after that, I think we're going to see a little bit better conditions. This looks like it's going to be a tropical storm warning now in effect for our entire viewing area. The color looked a little bit off from what our computer models. I'm looking at it going, did they upgrade that? No. It's still a tropical storm warning in effect for our entire viewing area. Hurricane warnings, or warnings actually I should say, down here across parts of southwestern Alabama where they do expect to see the stronger winds. So the path hasn't changed. If you've been watching this for the past couple days, the track of the system, it continues to be the same. The only thing that's changed, it's a little bit stronger, made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, but still expected to move across southwestern areas of Georgia, weakening quickly now as it continues to move in here by 8 o'clock tonight. Category 2 hurricane right near the Albany, Georgia area. And then you notice by Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, it's now moving over towards parts of South Carolina and Georgia border, right up near the Augusta area, with 45 mile per hour sustained winds. Now that means it'll be transitioning from that hurricane to a tropical storm as it crosses over Georgia tonight in through tomorrow morning. So being on the east-northeast side of the storm, we know we're going to have that chance for isolated tornadoes. We talked about that being now an enhanced risk. We need to be watching that. Winds will be the main concern with this system, as it's going to be a fast mover, so we're not looking at a big rain event. 2 to 4 inches, maybe locally higher amounts. Certainly if those rain bands set up, you can easily get some heavier amounts of rain. This is going to be tropical rain in here, a lot of moisture in place. But winds can still gust 40 to 60 miles per hour and maybe even a little bit more in some of those heavier rain bands, which can certainly tap into those stronger winds aloft and bring them down to the surface, and possibly even right along the area beaches. Could see some of those gustier winds up there as well. And that's enough. 40 to 60 mile per hour winds is enough to cause tree damage out there. Trees, limbs coming down, trees uprooted, some of them tipped over possibly if the grounds are saturated. We get that heavier rain moving on in. So power outages are going to be the main concern associated with this overnight and in through tomorrow morning. Again, flooding rain, not so much a big concern. 2 to 4, maybe more. The ground is still very much dry. We're in drought across the area, so this is welcomed rain across the region. There's your tidal flooding at high tide. It's low because, again, it's only at high tide. We haven't been seeing the floods in here as far as any of the water getting over Highway 80 last night. We're going to get close to that, I think, coming up here tonight and into tomorrow morning. So, again, keep that in mind if you're traveling on those coastal roads. And then there's your tornado risk, 2 out of 5. Let's get into what we're going to see in here with the winds. Today, it'll be a breezy day, especially as we go through the evening hours. We're looking at winds 15, maybe 20 miles per hour with some of the gusts. Now, by 4 p.m., starting to see some of the windier conditions, breezier conditions, I should say, in here for our southern areas. And this is all going to be working in from southwest to northeast. And that should have an extra pause point, but it did go through tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. But you can see by then it's a solid 40 to 50 plus, maybe a few areas getting close to 60 mile per hour wind gusts overnight through tomorrow morning. And then even in through 11 a.m., we start to get lesser amounts of winds across our southern areas. And then it's going to be more of our low country areas, which have that 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gust still at about 11 a.m. tomorrow. But again, Michael is working through the area very quickly. We're thinking by 4 o'clock tomorrow, much better conditions across our entire viewing area. And that will continue to get better as we head on through the next couple of days. And you see it's more of a northwesterly wind. That's going to bring in some much cooler air. So here's the rainfall totals. We're still sticking with a 1 to 3 inches. Maybe locally higher amounts, depending on how those rain bands set up. But that's a general forecast here. Totals for the coastal areas from Beaufort, Savannah, including Hinesville and Brunswick. Now, as you move inland, Douglas, Hazelhurst, Vidalia, into Toombs, into the Tattnall County area. So Glenville, Reedsville, into Metter, Statesboro, into Sylvania and Hampton. You get about 2 to 4 inches. Which is expected, and maybe some locally higher amounts. Again, depends on how those rain bands are setting up. So that could cause some localized flooding initially here as you get those heavy rain bands, which typically happen as you get those summer thunderstorms. That's what we are expecting to be occurring with these areas here. So I'm going to go over here and see if you have any comments. I'm going to pull up the Facebook page right now and see if you do have any questions or comments. And I'm going to try to answer a few of those for you. Now, if you're asking about school closures, you can go to our website at WTOC.com. Right on the home page there is a complete list of what's going on with all the school closures which are in effect for Thursday and maybe even some for later on tonight if there's any cancellations. Any cancellations will be on that home center page. So we got a lot of comments out there. Let's see if I can get a couple of them here. Cat 2 for Georgia won't be one till it hits South Carolina. NOAA giving good updates. Yeah, Sarah, again, I said transitioning from that Category 2 hurricane near the Albany area to a tropical storm as it gets closer to the Augusta area by Thursday at 8 a.m. So it could still definitely be a Cat 1 as it's crossing over parts of central areas of Georgia. Again, it's that transition phase. It's not going to happen just like that. It's going to take some time. So it's going to go from a Cat 2 to a Cat 1 down into a tropical storm. So yes, you are correct. Tricia wants to know about Pula. Erica wants to know about Lyons. Again, this is all going to be working on in here. We are expecting the conditions to start to really go downhill later tonight. Today, we're going to have those scattered showers. The biggest threat today is isolated tornadoes. So make sure you have your alerts turned on the WTOC First Alert weather app or your NOAA weather radio. Any way you can get that information will be beneficial to you. Tanya, she is in Hazelhurst. Right now, again, Hazelhurst, you have that flash flood watch. That's the only watch you have right now. Your conditions are starting to deteriorate later tonight. You'll be the first ones to start to see those winds increasing as Michael will get closer to you later on tonight. Any road closures other than the Talmadge Bridge, again, you can go to our website, WTOC.com, right on the Home Center page. That has a list of all the closings that we know about right there on the Home Center page. Will we have any storm surge like we did with Irma? No, totally different storm associated with Irma. this is not going to produce a storm surge event for our area. Now, the tides are still coming out of their king tide cycles, so they're already pretty elevated, and with that onshore flow, that will help bring those tides a little bit higher, some cases getting over 9 feet, so we could have water getting close to, if not slightly over, some of the roadways, but not a big storm surge factor associated with Michael. Lisa says it won't be as bad as Matthew. We had 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts with that. We did have some of those stronger wind gusts at the beach areas. We do not expect any 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts with this, but just remember all the damage we had with Michael for even the inland areas. A lot of tree damage with that. And we only had tropical storm force winds associated with Matthew, and we had a lot of damage and power outages with that. We are expecting something similar to that. 40 to 60 mile per hour winds are certainly enough to do some damage to trees, which are certainly going to do enough to damage to some homes, and certainly do enough to do some damage to some power there. So that would be the main concern. So we don't really expect evacuations with this system. But if you live in an area which has a lot of trees, you're in a mobile home, you might want to think about relocating to an area which is maybe a little bit more sturdy and not as susceptible to seeing those trees coming down onto your home. That is something to think about, and that is a decision that you will have to make, and you know the particular area that you are in. Amanda wants to know, is Hinesville going to be okay? I think you're going to have some winds gusting 50 to 60 miles per hour. Can't be ruled out. Isolated tornado can't be ruled out, but generally you are going to see the better conditions than what we had for some of the far inland areas across central areas of Georgia. But again, can't rule out those isolated tornadoes. That's the main concern, with some strong winds which could take down some trees. So power outages are main concern tonight into tomorrow morning. Tabitha, Savannah Christian and Georgia Ports are waiting. Again, go to our website. They'll have all the updates on any closures out there. Emily, you're welcome. Paige wants to know, is this mainly a wind event? Yes, a wind and isolated tornado event for our area. We are going to get some locally heavy rain, so make sure you're aware of that. We had some of that last night. Could see some more of that again coming up here tonight and into our Thursday. Edward wants to know impact on Glenville. Again, we've been talking about it. Everybody who's watching right now, if you're looking at specific impacts, we all have the same potential for impacts in here. 2 to 4 inches of rain, especially more for the inland areas. It really all depends on how the rain band's set up. We could have a one rain band kind of training, moving over the same area, which could produce maybe a locally higher amount. But in those rain bands, we're going to see some of the gustier winds out there. And in those outer rain bands, we can see some isolated tornadoes. For all locations, no matter where we are watching right now, whether you're in Hilton Head, into Hampton, down to Glenville, into Brunswick, or over towards Jessup or Hazelhurst, we all have the same chance for seeing isolated tornadoes and locally heavy rain with the gusty winds out there. So make sure you are aware of that. So main thing I want to give away at this is just stress that you have to be mindful of having the potential for seeing the power out. So make sure you're prepared for that. Make sure you have extra batteries. Make sure you have extra flashlights if your power goes out, because this will be an overnight thing. If you need to have a way to get light in there, make sure you have candles, flashlights. Make sure you have water. Who knows how long your power might go out for, or a way to get the canned foods. Make sure you have a way to get to the bread and water so you can have something to eat in case your power does go out for your particular area. Make sure your electronics are charged before you go to bed tonight. Again, the worst of the strongest winds expected overnight through tomorrow morning. So you want to make sure that everything is charged in case your power goes out. You can continue to get that information, whether it be at WTOC.com or on air if you still have power for your area. So again, that's what we're saying. And Taylor Ludowici, again, we just talked about that. Paula, yes. What is the weather app address for your iPhone? It's on our WTOC First Alert weather app. That came from Missy. Hello to you, Shay and Kevin. Savannah, Mrs. Gunn wants to know, again, we're looking at more scattered showers. Alma from Vicky wants to know. App Store, WTOC weather. There you go, Brandy. That is correct. What schools are closed? Misty wants to know. Again, WTOC.com. That is a great place to get that information and get all the local information. And again, if you haven't downloaded the First Alert weather app, go ahead and download that now. Make sure those alerts are turned on, and you have a way to get that weather information. So we're going to be doing live updates here at the top of every hour on WTOC. That's on air. So our next one coming up at 3 o'clock. We're going to go into the news now at 4 o'clock. And we're continuing to give you updates throughout the evening hours. And we're going to be with you here. We got all our staff in here in place, meteorologists in place. Make sure we're always going to have at least 2 meteorologists working throughout the afternoon, into the overnight, and into our Thursday rather, to make sure we get the information out that you need to know about. So stay with WTOC for now. We're going to say goodbye. Have yourself a great Wednesday evening, and make sure you got the information to know that we are going to see some gustier winds in here overnight through early Thursday.